Hello, it's Sarah. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. Today, you're going to be learning all about your voice, how voice and body language are actually connected, the ways that insecurity can show up in your voice and in the way you speak, and how your voice can become one of your greatest assets. So, first of all, what in the world does your voice have to do with your body language? Aren't those two things different and separate? When you look up the different ways that communication is broken down, like the different percentages, there's your verbal communication, there's how much your tone is, and then there's how much body language counts. And so we often think of like tone of voice as being separate from body language. But here's the thing. Your voice is part of your body. Your body is part of your voice. The state of your body is going to affect directly what is coming out in your voice, how it sounds, the tone, how sure you can sound of yourself. Even the words that are coming out are directly affected by what's going on inside your body. Finn, I can't remember his last name, but on Ask Vin, he talks about communication a lot. And he actually says so many people are worried about having a monotone voice. And what they don't realize is that a monotone voice comes from having a monotone body. Meaning, if your body is still and rigid, your voice is going to kind of flatline and become very boring to listen to. Why in the world does this stuff actually matter? Well, here's the thing. You are creating an experience for the people who are listening to you every time you speak. What kind of an experience are you creating? And as an entrepreneur, especially, they are watching you, they are listening to you, they want to know if you believe in what you're saying. They want to know if they can trust you because they want to know if the transformation you are offering is actually possible. I want you to notice that when you keep your body really still, which happens so often because we're often just kind of, we feel like a talking head, right? We forget that there's the rest of our body. We're on Zoom calls a lot, we're on our phones, and we forget the rest of us. Speaking is actually a full body experience. You need to be aware of your body. And I highly recommend freeing your hands up whenever you can, because just that in and of itself, without any extra coaching, is going to change your voice. So, what are some things that you need to watch out for? Ways that insecurity might be creeping in to the way that you're speaking. I have 5 things I wanted to share with you today. So, the first one to watch out for is when you get quieter at the end of your sentences. This is something I personally used to struggle with a lot. And honestly, I still catch myself doing it occasionally. But what happens is that you start out strong, you're speaking, you've got the attention on you, and then you start to panic. And you're kind of unsure about like, is it okay for me to be taking up this space? Is it okay for my thoughts to take up this space? So the volume in your voice just starts to fade. The problem with this is that you sound really unsure. You're not letting your thoughts take up the space that they actually need and deserve. So watch out for getting quieter at the end of your sentences. Number two thing to watch out for, the way that insecurity might be showing up in how you talk, is talking too fast. So when this happens, it might feel like your mouth is 10 steps ahead of your brain. Now, this might happen because you're excited. It also might happen because you want to get out of the spotlight ASAP. Either way, this is going to make it harder for people to absorb your message, which is going to make it harder for them to connect with you. So go ahead and slow down. There are some body awareness exercises that you can do to help you feel really comfortable with slowing down that pace. But I promise that it is going to seem a lot slower for you than it is going to seem for your listeners. The number three thing to watch out for is saying your sentences like a question. We call this upspeak when you bring your tone up at the end of your sentence. So here's the thing about this. If your voice rises at the end of your sentences, it doesn't just sound like a question, it actually sounds like you're asking for approval. Now, leaders love feedback. We are open to feedback, but leaders also know that they need to approve of themselves. They are not looking for approval from others. And so you have to, very first of all, approve of yourself and of what you are saying. Stop saying your sentences like questions. Number four thing to watch out for is over explaining. So if you're not sure that the words that you've said have had enough impact, it can be very, very tempting to just keep on adding more words, to keep on trying to prove your point. Now, there's a few problems here. One of them is going to be that people tend to tune you out when you just keep going. But also, when you're acting on this, like, I'm not sure if I've had enough impact, I need to keep going, I need to keep going, you are demonstrating your lack of confidence in what you have already said. Say your words and let that be enough. The last thing to watch out for, ways that your insecurity might be showing up in how you speak, is holding back. I see this happening a lot with women entrepreneurs where they have something important to say. They've observed the world around them and they want to share something, but they don't. Maybe this thing that you want to share really matters to you. Maybe you're not sure that people are going to receive it well. Maybe you're not sure that you can handle what happens when you speak up and say this thing. So you play it safe instead. You just zip your mouth and keep it in. Now, obviously, sometimes holding something back, not saying it, sometimes that is appropriate. But sometimes you need to trust yourself. You need to trust the people you're talking to, and you need to speak up. You need to let it out. Whatever it is that you have to say, that thing that is so important to you. The reason why is because when you hold back, you are stopping yourself from stepping fully into your authority. And not only that, you are depriving people of the unique perspective that only you can give. Do any of these feel painfully familiar to you? I know that all of these are things that I have struggled with in the past and that honestly come up every now and then, still to this day. I used to really have a hard time about speaking and saying things that were on my mind and what I was feeling and what was important to me. In fact, most of the guys that I dated, they were the ones who were like, "You gonna talk about your feelings? Hey, do you actually like me?" Because I just kept things in. The interesting thing about the transformation that I went through when I talk about body language and how it changed my life is that my voice literally changed too. Not only did I start becoming more comfortable with saying what I felt and what I thought, but the sound of my voice changed. I used to speak with a higher pitch. It was kind of lifted up away, like I was making room for other people all the time, everybody else's opinions except for my own. I hadn't noticed how my voice had changed until one of my old college roommates listened to my podcast. We live in different states. We have not seen each other very often, nor spoken very often, but she listened to my podcast and she texted me and she was like, "Whoa, Sarah, your voice has changed so much." I was like, "Really? It has?" I thought about it. I was like, "Yeah, you're right. It has." Because I got more comfortable in my skin. I brought my voice down. I was more connected with reality. I was more willing to put weight behind my words. One of the things that really changed my voice was I taught yoga for a few years. And as I was teaching these yoga classes, I really wanted to create an experience for the people who were in my classes. I wanted to create an experience for them, and I didn't just want to be precise about telling them exactly where to go in a pose and what to do within it, but I wanted them to feel something. I wanted them to feel something. And the only tool that I had to get them to have this experience where they felt something deeply was my voice. So I started thinking about my voice and thinking about like what kind of an experience can I create with my voice? How can I use my voice to help them feel more? And I practiced it and I practiced it and I practiced it. And the crazy thing is that I went from being this girl who people were like, "Oh, you have like such a high soprano voice," and who were people didn't even know what I thought or what I felt, to becoming this teacher who people were like obsessed with my voice. I kid you not. I worked at a rehab for a little while and I taught yoga to these big firefighters and policemen. And I'm not even joking. They would talk about my voice when I wasn't even there at the rehab. They would just talk about my voice and how much they loved it and how they wanted recordings of my voice. And not in like a creepy way, but just because the experience that they had through my voice was so meaningful to them that they wanted more of it. So, for you, what would that mean for people to love listening to you that much? When they would stop scrolling, stop in their tracks, turn their head to the side, and want to hear what it is that you have to say. When people love listening to you, they're going to be more invested emotionally in the words that you say. They are going to connect more with you. And the goal being that they will be more bought in on what you have to offer because they will actually be moved deep within and want to take action. Your voice can actually become one of your greatest assets. I'm talking about your literal voice, like the sound that it makes, but also your expressive voice. When you are willing to put your thoughts and your feelings into words, when you're willing to send them out into the world, when you're willing to trust yourself, when you put certainty and weight behind your words, where people can feel that you really mean what you have to say, wow, things are going to change for you. So my challenge for you is to think about the experience that you're creating with your voice. How can you use your voice to show people that you mean what you have to say? How can you use more certainty in your voice? Try it out and watch what happens. Say what you mean and really mean what you say. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm getting really excited because the day this comes out, I'm actually teaching an Own Your Voice workshop. So if you catch this in time, go ahead and click on the link in the show notes. You can join us. It's not too late. Again, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time.